Welcome again to Language Planning and Policies in Education. This is a new chapter, and we are going to focus our study on social-linguistic surveys. Very central to this lesson is to look at the definition of what social-linguistic surveys are, why social-linguistic surveys have to be undertaken, what is the major purpose of social-linguistic surveys, and how to undertake the social-linguistic surveys. And at the end, we have to consider the application of social-linguistic survey results into whatever we are trying to do in this course, because this will help us in making the right decisions. And this is a very, very important aspect. Firstly, we have to talk about the background to social-linguistic surveys. Generally, the social-linguistic surveys are intended to gather information about the social organization of language, that is, language behavior, and the behavior towards language in specified populations. They vary widely in the questions which they ask and the ways in which they answer them. And therefore, they also vary in the way they use the information. That is, the use to which the information is put after conducting the social-linguistic surveys. The results are intended to be used in so many ways, and in a special way, it is very clear that the results are intended to be used especially for populations that actually vary in terms of size and complexity, and also they vary on the basis of organization. Secondly, the information is also used in such a way that such behaviors encompass multitudinous phenomena. This is generally a background to social-linguistic surveys, and so they are important for such kind of information that we can use in societies. Social-linguistic surveys vary widely in the questions which they ask, as earlier pointed out, and they also vary in the ways in which they answer them. And at the same time, they vary in the way they use it, in the way they use that information for which their results are intended. That is, the way they will look at the results will vary from one survey to another survey. They don't remain the same. Now, we may attempt to define what a social-linguistic survey is. A survey is a research. However, it is different from other types of research in that a survey is correlational. It is correlational in nature. So, we have to pay special attention on this one. How is it correlational? This is where associations are drawn. And these associations are not causal relationships, and therefore are not established among variables. What this means is that where associations are drawn but not causal relationships are established among variables, then you have what you would refer to as the data that does explain the social-linguistic surveys. Experimental research, in contrast, establishes causal relationships, that is, cause and effect. On the other hand, social-linguistic surveys are correlational in nature, which is true although inferences of causality can sometimes be drawn from correlational data. That is, some sociolinguistic surveys are experimental in nature or are experimental in character. For example, surveys carried out by Labov, 1966, in a New York City shop. Now, a survey research is defined as research carried out with respect to an entire population, whether as small as 100 neighboring households, and this is according to Fishman, 1971, or as large as a nation, and this is according to Ladderford et al., 1971. Therefore, a census in a survey is also evident. That is, a census is also a survey. Thus, a survey is sometimes what the literal meaning of the word suggests. That is, an overview, which means a survey is just an overview. What appears to be there, that is an overview, which means it doesn't go into details. It provides surface information. Therefore, it is an examination which obtains breadth of observation at the expense of depth. And this is why I was talking about a survey not going very deep into the material. It brings surface information. Now, because of the constraints imposed by limitations of time and money, you see, when conducting surveys, you have to determine the amount of time that you are going to take. At the same time, you have to determine the cost, that's money. These two factors, time and money, can bring limitations to the success of your survey. So, there is often a trade-off between the number of cases that can be observed and the number of questions which can be asked about each case. Inasmuch as studies of whole populations are concerned, whether by complete enumeration or by sample surveys, typically involve large numbers of cases. That is, the number of questions asked about each case is often smaller than the number which can be asked by other types of study. And one has to consider this as a detail within the survey, that when you compare the cases, they may not be the same. Now, let's get down to talking about the goals of sociolinguistic surveys. What are the goals of sociolinguistic surveys? That is, what are the intentions? What are the purports of sociolinguistic surveys? There are numerous, but we may cover only a few. In your own private studies, you might wish to explore even more to understand a lot of materials around the goals themselves. The first thing is to consider how these goals can be analyzed, how these goals can be determined in sociolinguistic surveys. They can be analyzed in two ways. They can be analyzed in two ways. The first one is by categorizing the behaviors which such surveys are designed to assess.